Bada bing, bada boom. Nothing but Niners. Back at you again. Today, we are talking a debate between Roquan Smith, Tremaine Edmunds. Who is going to win this debate today? First off, guys, we're going to talk about who is the best fit starting day one for the 49ers scheme and this year's draft between Roquan and Tremaine. So we're gonna start off with Eric, and we got our boy Scott over here. So Eric, tell us who you are, where you can be found, and who you're going with to be the best fit for the 49ers out of this draft this year.
All right, yeah. My name is Eric Crocker. Um, I Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Eric underscore Crocker, or you can find me on Instagram at Croc Time underscore you on Instagram. And I'm here. I'm going to debate, on behalf of Tremaine Edmunds. The reason why I like Edmunds, I wasn't as high when I started hearing, the mocks coming out, and Bucky Brooks is like, oh, Tremaine Edmunds, 49ers should take him. He's a Leo, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, man, I've watched Virginia Tech. He didn't jump out to me. I watched Virginia Tech, especially since I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. They went head up this year. And when I think of taking a linebacker in the top 10, I think of a guy like Reuben Foster, who jumps off the screen. You see it. You know that's a top 10 type guy. And since I didn't know who Tremaine Edmunds was, I was like, well, he can't be, that good because he would have jumped off the screen to me. I was wrong. Tremaine Edmunds, uh, from day one starting with the 49ers, is very versatile, more versatile, I would say, than Roquan Smith. You can play him at Sam, which I think is a big need for the 49ers because we didn't get much out of Eli Harold at all at that position. No pass rushing ability except for the two times where nobody just blocked him, so he was able to get a sack. Um, he, wasn't very good in coverage. Uh, a guy like Tremaine Edmunds, day one, boom, he steps in. He's already better than Eli Harold, so we improved that spot. He can pass rush. I don't think he is a pass rusher. Like, it's not somebody that you want to put at Leo, like Bucky Brooks said. But I think as far as, rushing off of, the strong side or whatever, he can do that. So he can definitely pass. Now, where you get the plus out of him is he's also pretty good in coverage. He's really good side to side. 6'5", 250 pounds, and he's only 19 years old. So he's still growing. And he's just as athletic as anybody. I would say probably more athletic than a Reuben Foster. Now, he might not pack as much punch. He might not, sniff out things as quick as Reuben Foster. But as far as athletic ability and what you can build off of that, yeah, he's extremely athletic. He can drop in coverage. I'm pretty sure you guys can find clips on him dropping in coverage, running with wheel routes, 30 yards downfield. Running backs trying to beat him out the backfield. He's running downfield stride for stride with these guys. You'll see him slicing in from, you can play him at middle linebacker, at Mike. You can play him at will. So he's so versatile. If you can put, a decent pass rusher on the other side of him, like Ezekiel Ansah, who I like in the free agency, and you have him rushing off the other end, now the 49ers are really working with something on defense. I think that would be ideal. I don't know how realistic that is, but that would be something that's very beneficial. So, with Tremaine Edmunds, you don't just shore up one spot. He's not just a Mike, or he's not just a Will. He's a Mike, he's a Will, and he's a Sam. So, if I was to draft, one guy at 9 or 10 out of him or Roquan Smith, I would definitely go with Tremaine Edmunds.
Okay, I like it. Mike, Will, Sam can fill all those positions starting day one. So Croc says Tremaine Edmunds as a day one starter filling in right now and upgrading over Eli Harold, which I think would make a lot of 49ers fans happy because I don't think there's a lot of love out there for Eli. But Scott, man, what's going on, buddy? Tell everybody where they can find you at, and I want to hear what you got to say about Roquan because he just laid it on the line for Edmunds, playing three different positions.
Yeah, so I'm Scott Keelan. You can find me on Twitter at Scott, which is @_SC0TT. You can also find me on Nothing But Niners and writing on Niners Nation. And disclaimer before I start, I really like Tremaine Edmunds. I think he's a great player, but I prefer Roquan Smith. I think Tremaine Edmunds is a good player. I think he's incredibly versatile, but I don't think he's a great player. I think Roquan Smith is already going to go and be a great player in the NFL, and I think he's only going to get better. I think he's a prototypical middle linebacker. He's got freakish athleticism. You see him on tape, his closing speed, his side-to-side range, his ability to come downhill and make plays in the backfield. I think the first time I saw him, it was just he was on a run blitz. The running back had barely even got the ball in his hands when Roquan Smith was just blowing him up in the backfield. He's got that kind of speed off the line. He's got that kind of explosiveness. You can blitz him from the wheel position. He can drop in a coverage. He's got that side-to-side range that comes with the athleticism that he has. I think he's going to come into the league and be better than Deion Jones was as a rookie, and I think he's going to be not far off where Deion Jones was this season. I think he's got that kind of same Reuben Foster style ability to come into the league straight away and become an elite linebacker. It kind of has those Smith Bowman, those are the Willis Bowman vibes. I think he's going to be a massive upgrade over Malcolm Smith. Malcolm Smith, as good as he's been against the run in terms of just racking up tackles, he has deficiencies in coverage. It's a reason why I have been an advocate, and I am an advocate for bringing back Eric Reed. But if you can get Roquan Smith, you don't need to bring Eric Reed back, because Roquan Smith straight away goes in and starts ahead of Malcolm Smith. I think you need good coverage. As I said, you need good coverage at that spot. And ultimately, Roquan Smith is the kind of guy that changes the defense. Him and Reuben Foster together have the ability to basically allow you to do whatever you want with the other players in the defense. You can consistently rush 4, but you can rush 5, you can rush 6, because those guys can cover man to man. You can rush guys who are the nickel cornerback. You can rush cornerbacks off the edge. You can bring safeties on the blitz, because those guys can hold up in coverage. Those guys can do all the jobs that you need from a linebacker. I also think that as far as the Sam linebacker position goes, I don't think it's that crucial. I think as long as you've got a guy who sets an edge, you don't need that much flashy stuff from him. You don't need him to be a big sack guy. You don't need him to be a great coverage player if you've got good players around him. You need him fundamentally to hold an edge. And I think Eli Harold does that well enough. I think I saw it was a quote on Niners Wire. It's kind of like saying that you have a favorite child. The Niners defensive coaches aren't going to say they think the Sam linebacker position isn't important, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably the least important position on defense. It's the guy has to basically be a one-dimensional edge-setting player. Roquan Smith is elite. Tremaine Edmunds isn't that yet, and I think Roquan Smith is always going to be a better linebacker than Tremaine Edmunds, so that's why I think the 49ers should draft Roquan Smith.
All right. So there were some good topics there, too, on Roquan Smith, and I do agree with you that the Sam position isn't as important as we think it is in this scheme. But I do think that we could use an upgrade as well at that Sam position. So I'm kind of torn, guys. I'm kind of torn. I like both of your guys' opinions on both players. Scott's saying that if we bring in Roquan Smith, Malcolm Smith doesn't play. That's a big contract to not be playing. Croc, what is your assessment on Roquan Smith? And then I'll go back to Scott. And then, Scott, you give me an assessment on what you think about Tremaine Edmunds. And real quick, just breakdown of what the other said.
Yeah, so when I think of Roquan Smith, okay, compared to Edmunds, so Edmunds, like I said, he could come in day one and play Sam and be better than Eli Harold. But in sub packages, when you want to bring in an extra DB, you can slide him to Mike or Will and take the liability with Smith off of the field, and Edmunds be good in coverage. I think that day one, Roquan Smith definitely probably is a better, Will linebacker. Just from what I've seen with his instincts, but I've also seen, he was pretty much non-existent that whole first half of the national championship. He's going to be playing against probably better, offensive linemen across the board. If he's playing for the 49ers, So if you can't, get off the blocks of those guys, from Alabama, how are you going to get off the blocks of, Dallas Cowboys linemen running at you, or Denver Broncos linemen running at you? You have a guy like Edmunds who's much bigger, so if he does have to play, a Will or Mike, situation, he's a lot bigger. He's fighting off blocks, still is fluid, just as athletic as pretty much anybody. And like I said, he's only 19, so all he's going to do is get stronger, and bigger and more athletic. So I do like Roquan Smith. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's Reuben Foster. So yeah, I still would go with Edmunds, but I like him. I just don't like him more than I like Edmunds overall as an overall linebacker.
Okay, Scott. So, what do you think? What would sell fans more on going to Roquan Smith, or compared to Tremaine Edmunds?
Okay, I'm just going to start by saying that I agree with Croc on the Tremaine Edmunds point about his versatility. The fact that basically, unlike this year when the Sam linebacker comes off a nickel, this time we'll get rid of Malcolm Smith. I think the 49ers showed last year that Malcolm Smith not playing wasn't an issue for them when they drafted Reuben Foster. Because when you drafted Reuben Foster, I'd say that the vast majority of fans would have thought that he would have started the season with Bowman at linebacker and Malcolm Smith would have been the guy on the bench. Now, I don't know if that was the internal feeling, but I would imagine that's probably the approach they would have taken. So I don't think fans need to be concerned about the 49ers having to not play Malcolm Smith because of these other players. I think they've already shown that they're willing to entertain that scenario by drafting Reuben Foster. I think it's just exactly the same situation here. I also think that we don't necessarily have to worry in a kind of jokey way about offensive linemen when we play the Seahawks twice in 1 year. Those guys can't put their hat on anything, especially not Roquan Smith, who'll be on them before they can even blink. But I think ultimately with Roquan Smith, I think what you're saying is with Tremaine Edmunds, we're talking about a projection here. We're talking about a 19-year-old player who was a primarily off-ball linebacker in college, who was saying we're going to bring him to the NFL and we're going to turn him into a Sam linebacker, because you're asking for some development there. You're asking for him to start playing on the ball. He's got the tools to do it. There's no doubt about it. There's nothing wrong with drafting a guy for his projection. I'm a big advocate of Marcus Davenport for that reason. I think you can draft the guy for his tools, and I think Edmunds has those tools. You can line him up at Sam linebacker to start with, but it's a projection. It's, can he do it? We don't actually know. We don't know how his play strength really looks at the point of attack against NFL level right tackles. When fullbacks are coming along, how does he do when he's double teamed? Can he set an edge? How does he react to those things when an offensive tackle is going to be more explosive than any of the guys he's ever faced in college? And now he's less than a foot away from him, as opposed to being 4 or 5 meters back. That's a projection that we need to try and establish. The other thing is, how well does he translate that off ball on the NFL? You can see he takes missteps in college. He can get baited by play action. He's, I think, overly reliant on his athleticism to get himself back into the play. He's a great tackler. He brings guys down one-handed at one time because he's clearly a strong kid. But if we're being realistic here, this is to me, Roquan Smith is much less of a projection going forward into the NFL than Tremaine Edmunds, and that's why I'm in favour of the less projection, who I personally think is going to be elite, than a guy who I think has the potential to be elite and incredibly versatile, but I think is right now is not that player.
Okay, so we can all sit here and agree, like what you were just saying, that I think that that's what I love about the draft so much is no matter how much tape you watch, no matter how well they've done in college, every single player coming out is a projection player, pretty much. I mean, the percentage-wise, right? We all agree on that? Croc, you agree? That, pretty much 98%, 95%, I would say. Maybe not that high. But most of the players that come out of the draft are projection players. You're not really sure what you're going to get in the NFL. The NFL is a lot faster, bigger players, more athletic, coaching more and more. And things like that you guys all touched on. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to debate this, but we can talk about this later in the week on another video, but I don't think that we go. Uh, it's up in the air for me right now if we go defensive player first in that 9 or 10 position. But both those guys, I think, will both help the 49ers. I think that both of them will be able to succeed in the NFL. And that's just our opinions. You know, we all have them. So, guys, I'll put up a poll after this video as well on who you think is a better fit for this system as well between Tremaine Edmunds and Roquan Smith. So, Croc, you got anything else to finish it off? Good? Scott? You're good too? All right, guys. So let's go. Make sure you give us a follow, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you set those tones so you know that when we are live, we are going to be starting a new feature as well. I'll put that out on Twitter as well. But you have to make sure you follow us, and you can follow us at nothing but 9ERS on Twitter. You can find us at nothingbutniners.com. You can find us on Instagram, Nothing But Niners, as well as Snapchat, Nothing But 9ERS. You can follow us on Facebook, Nothing But Niners, and most of all, nothingbutniners.com and Nothing But Niners on YouTube. SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. Podbean, I think we're getting ready to get onto Podbean as well. That'll be something new coming to you guys this season. It's going to be a fun-filled off-season, guys. Make sure you hit those subscribe buttons on all aspects of social media. We are everywhere that you want us to be. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. So, as always, above all else, stay faithful. We out.